come check out the Connection Games and Comics. We have the largest selection of War Machine and Hordes miniatures in the Lower Mainland. War Machine Wednesdays and Sundays, with tables and terrain to play your game.
Welcome to Wargamer Shut Up and Jam, where we're talking about the Menoth All-in-One Army Box. It's going to be coming out next month.
Oh! I'm sorry, it's very religious. It's a very holy army.
I'm Steve, the producer.
I'm Logan the Noob.
I'm Mike, and they hate me, but they call me the memory.
We don't
And
actually.
this is Wargamer Shut Up and Jam Guide. So in the All-in-One Army Box for Menoth, you get Grand Scrutator Severius, a Reckoner, a Vanquisher, a Redeemer, a Hierophant, Exemplar Errants, the Choir of Menoth, which is amazing, the Errant Seneschal, which
It's a solo.
is a solo, but we will have to have that argument together.
Right.
A Vassal, and a Merc Dude.
Rupert Carvolo, Piper of Ord.
Yeah, he's extremely, I guess, Scottish maybe?
I have no idea. Whatever Ord is.
Well,
He's basically the Piper of Menoth. I don't actually know.
Yeah, but Scots have the bagpipes or something.
I don't know. I mean, I guess.
He's a support piece. That is not from Menoth. He's a merc.
Yeah.
He is basically a Menoth piece. He's
Whatever.
so good with Menoth.
All right,
Okay.
so
He's got
let's start going on the list here. We're going to start with the Warcaster, Grand Scrutator Severius. Let's start with his impressive 8 focus. So he has a 16-inch control area, which is very large.
I'd like to summarize Grand Scrutator Severius as amazeballs, in that he's just disgusting.
That's a little bit of an oversimplification, I think, but it's not entirely inaccurate.
Yeah, I'm going to say I think it's pretty right. One of his abilities that I think is really awesome, but has questionable use because I think if you use it, you're probably in a relatively poor spot, is his Convert ability, where he can take a star action and
Special action.
and he can take control. I guess it's his command range, but he can take control of an enemy. Well, convert an enemy solo or warrior model, and they become basically a solo for him.
It can't be a solo. It's a trooper model.
Oh, okay. So it's a trooper model, but then that trooper model becomes basically a solo for him. It operates like a solo.
They have to take a command check, and if they pass it, they don't get converted. If they do not pass it, if they fail the command check, they are converted to the light of Menoth.
But they cannot activate that turn, so it's very possible that they just get killed before you end up getting used them. But that is still the enemy using resources to kill
Their own guy.
unit. Yeah.
Also, it can only target living enemy models, so Sirius is immune, and Crix is largely immune. Some of Circle is immune, but really only Wold Stalkers.
That's interesting because if somebody's taking that Gator guy to make a unit undead,
That's true.
that could temporarily make them immune.
So Severius' stat line isn't. I would say his base stat line isn't that impressive. So he's got 5 speed, 4 mat, 5 rat, but you don't care about that.
Yeah, he's got victim stats. He's like defense 14, armor 14 with like 15 boxes, 16 boxes, something like that.
If he's in range of something that can kill it, you screwed up.
Well, okay,
Unless it's a spellcaster, because he has Sacred Ward.
Sacred Ward is his defensive ability. I mean,
Ability.
He can't be targeted by enemy spells. Period. He just doesn't care. Being that he's 8 focus, he is primarily
one of the largest focus casters in the game. Definitely.
Well, he's a mage basically. Like he casts the spells that makes the people fall down.
Yeah, he's an old guy with the staff.
Yeah, and he's probably
And
read
his spells.
He's probably read a book or two.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe
Scrutinize them a little bit.
Possibly only 1 book ever.
No, I mean, okay.
You're saying it's possible.
Look, okay. I mean, there's religious texts of various types.
Exactly.
You could read the Book of Menoth, and you could read all the fan fiction about the Book of Menoth.
Well, here's that fan fiction of Menoth and the Ouroboros. Oh.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Anyway, so why don't we have Mike go over Severius' spell list and lead us through that?
Sure, he does the things good. No, but seriously. Severius has an exceptional spell list. It's very large, containing 7 spells, I think. 6 spells. I was trying to count, but my war room fucked up. He has 6 spells.
Yeah, the war room made it so you don't know how to count.
No. I fucked up with war room. Anyway, shut up. So, he's got a nice balance of support spells and offensive spells. Although his support spells are where he really shines. He's got Defender's Ward. It's a very simple 2-cost spell that gives a friendly faction model or unit +2 defense and armor.
Oh my god.
It's really good. It makes the errants you'll see later in this list defense 14, armor 18. It's pretty good for a 1 point per model small based unit.
Yeah.
And it's an upkeep, so you can keep it up for one of his impressive focus pool.
Yeah, I mean, the only downside with upkeeps is that they can be banishing warded.
No, Banishing Ward only purges enemy upkeeps from friendly models.
Okay, the other one.
Purification.
That one.
Yes, we haven't talked about any casters that have Purification yet.
Oh, right there.
Anyway,
Go team.
the arguably best spell, and I think it's a spell that's unique to him, is Eye of Menoth, which is a 3-cost upkeep spell which he casts on himself. This spell is absurd.
Mm-hmm.
While within his control area, friendly faction models get +1 to attack and damage rolls.
So all the time because you have 16-inch command range.
Not necessarily all the time, but yeah,
Pretty much.
a fairly large portion of the time.
It's very.
No,
It's
It is approaching 100%.
It's like 95% because like when is something going to be more than 16 inches away from?
Well,
when,
you see, when we make up our own statistics, we can get whatever percent we want.
I'm just saying, but like if you really think about it, most of the time your caster is not going to be more than 16 inches away from any of your units.
So the interesting thing I think about that is, first off, it's subcast. So
Right.
it's not something he's placing on another model, which means they can have other things placed on them.
Of course, yes.
And also, like, attack 1+1 and attack and damage is, I think, deceptively powerful. Like, +1 doesn't sound like a whole lot.
If you're new to the game and you think, oh, well, it's just +1, whatever. But when you're making like 15 attacks from within that control area, or some other number, like some other ridiculous number like that. In addition, you have 2 warjacks in this list that have blast damage. This does not have by blast damage. This is added after the power of the blast damage is cut in half. So you're adding kind of like 2 power, two to those damage rolls essentially by adding 1.
Well, and I mean, so many games come down to like that last 1 point of damage.
Right, and
or that 1 point of between you missing and hitting.
Yeah,
exactly, and it stacks with acquire buffs, so it makes your jacks very focused. It makes your jacks really scary without giving them any focus.
But yeah, I think I think you're right. I don't think that there is another Warcaster that has Eye of Menoth. I mean,
I'm pretty sure it's just Prime Severius too. I don't think his Epic Incarnation has it.
and I think it is absolutely disgusting.
It's a really good spell. It's kind of a signature thing. It's why he's like a premier support caster in a faction of premier support casters.
Yeah. He's got some other stuff too, though.
Of course. Vision is his last defensive support spell, and I say defensive really just because it casts on a friendly unit, obviously. Essentially, Vision is a get-out-of-jail-free card. You cast it on any friendly faction model. When it gets directly hit by something, it did no damage. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Vision goes away after that, but it's just like, you hit me with a POW 48. Yeah, it's fine.
Is that you when it gets hit you may do this, or is it you have to do that?
It is when it gets directly hit. You can't avoid it. So someone can pop the Vision by using a smaller attack on it.
Okay.
But
still, you're wasting attacks.
Yeah, exactly. This is an upkeep spell too. So the only situation in which I can see you not wanting Eye of Menoth up at the end of your turn is if you upkept it to start your turn and wanted to end your turn with Vision on you so you don't die.
Okay.
On Severius himself.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty ridiculous.
That's it for his defensive support suite.
Although the one thing about Vision, actually, though, is that it is an upkeep spell.
Yes.
So if he's got Eye of Menoth up, he doesn't really want to cast it on himself unless it's, like, dire.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you upkeep Eye of Menoth to start your turn, attack with all of your things, and then throw Vision on yourself after the fact, yeah, I mean, you only want to do that if you don't want to die.
Well, if you have to do that rather than... Because, I mean, ultimately, if you can keep Eye of Menoth up... I mean, he's got 8 focus to play with, so it's not like he's ever really like a huge focus...
Right, but okay, but I gotta get in, like, his offensive spells aren't particularly long range.
Okay.
So there are sometimes where he might be in, range of, like, a counterattack or 2.
Okay. So, I mean, that cuts down on his potential to be demolished pretty well.
So all of his offensive spells are range 8. All 3 of them.
Okay.
One of them is
pretty short.
Yeah, one of them is a support spell, a buff. A debuff, rather. Death Sentence is a 2-cost spell, an upkeep spell, when it's cast on a enemy model/unit. Now, when a friendly faction model misses the target with an attack, any kind of attack, it can reroll the attack roll.
Okay.
Each attack roll can only be rolled once, as is convention for all attack rolls. Each attack roll can only be rerolled once, as is convention for every reroll effect in the game. Mm-hmm. But There you go. I mean, it lets you make everything in your army more accurate against the target unit.
So this is the spell you want to be using Banishing Ward with Sayru. Against this is like if we're going to be playing these lists against each other.
Well, for sure.
Right.
That's again another Amazeballs spell.
He has a fairly boring spell. You won't cast this very often, but you can cast it sometimes for like a game-ending assassination, which is another 8-inch range offensive spell that costs 2 called Immolation. This one simply is a POW 12 fire damage roll, and on a critical hit, the model hit suffers fire continuous effect.
Okay.
So this is not very impressive. It's just if you need a direct nuke, it's a direct nuke. It's fairly cheap. He's got focus 8, so he's going to hit fairly well with it, especially if his target has death sentence and he has upkept Eye of Menoth.
Well, ultimately, if you can get, like, let's say you fish for that crit fire, if you can get fire onto an enemy warcaster or something like that, it can be a big deal.
It can be, yeah, of course.
It's not always, but it can be.
Well, right. I mean, like, you do crit and you cast it twice and you crit on one of the 2 with your rerolls.
Yeah.
You're doing 2 POW 12s and then another POW 12 on the next turn. It's potential to kill a bunch of warcasters or warlocks.
Yeah. But I mean, he's brings so much to the table in terms of like enabling his army.
Right.
That I'm not sure that's ever. I mean, I don't know that that's ever Plan A.
I don't think it ever is. I think it's always, I think, pocket Plan B, just in case, you know. It's important to have something that, you know, if it comes up and you can just outright win the game, why don't you do it?
Yeah, fair enough.
And his last spell is actually extremely good. It's a very effective spell. Ashes to Ashes. This is a infantry killing monster. Or at least it can be if you're not horribly unlucky. It's an expensive spell at 4 focus, and it's range 8, just like all of his other offensive spells. Now, if you hit with Ashes to Ashes, it's a POW 10 hit. And the D6 nearest enemy models also take a POW 10.
Wow.
Fire damage. Yeah.
So that could be anywhere between 1 and another. It could hit
7 models.
2 to 7 models.
Yes. And it's important to note that you only have to hit your target.
Oh.
You don't have to hit the other models. They just within 5 inches.
Wow.
It goes from the nearest model, so you want to hit something that's closest to your target cluster of infantry to kill, like Praetorian Swordsmen or Winter Guard or Striders.
That's true. Wow, yeah, that's pretty fantastic.
Ashes to Ashes is a very, very good spell, just in general.
So, I mean, I think that because it costs so much, it might be the one that you're least likely to use under most circumstances, but I mean...
I disagree with that in general,
I guess
although within this battle box, within this all-in-one army box, you might be right.
He doesn't have a bad spell, though.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't have something that he's just like, why would you ever use that? It's all good. He's got tons of spells and enough focus to do whatever he wants, really.
Pretty much.
What does his feat do?
So his feat is extremely powerful against War Machine factions. It is less powerful, not useless, but less powerful against Hordes factions. For 1 round, enemy models cannot cast spells and lose the arc node advantage while in Severius' impressive control area.
Okay.
While in his control area, enemy models with the focus manipulation ability do not replenish focus.
Wow.
During the controller's next control phase. Next turn, rather. So this will deny your opponent's Warcaster their entire focus bar, their entire focus supply. Because they lose all their focus at the beginning of their turn, and then when they would replenish it, they just get nothing.
Jeez. And then if you have something like Iris in the list, it's disgusting.
But they can't upkeep any spells because they don't have any focus.
No, but you can rip off all their focus, and then they don't get to get it back.
They still don't get to get it back.
No, but...
Okay,
Iris removed the focus they did have.
Yeah, but they lose the focus. They would lose that focus at the start of their turn anyway.
Okay, but...
So basically, Steve...
They still get it for armor purposes, though.
No, they don't.
No.
They lose that... so on the turn that you feed, no. But on their turn, they don't get any focus back. They lose all of the focus they had.
No, that's what I'm saying, though. On the turn, well, okay, whatever.
It doesn't matter if you hit him.
Yeah, it's irrelevant in this case because Iris will do the same thing regardless of what caster you're playing.
Okay, fair enough. But anyway, so let's we'll go back to that.
And you can't the preventing enemy models from casting spells within the 16-inch control area is a pretty big deal, even for Hordes casters.
Yeah.
Who tend to have shorter ranges and less access to channeling, although they still lose. the Arcnode advantage if they were Arcnodes.
Okay.
Which they're
But they Animus counts as spells as well. Like they're cast as though they're
when the Warlock casts them, yes.
Oh, but not if the Warbeast.
Not if the Warbeast casts it.
Because it's forcing, not casting.
That's interesting. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So I see why hordes wouldn't be as affected by it, but it's still an amazing spell.
Right. I mean, of course, especially for things like Sayren's Blightbringer, for example, can't cast it. Can't do it.
Yeah.
Well, within 16 inches of him, which is a pretty big deal.
Yeah. Now, Now, in the case of hordes, a lot of the things that you have that can channel spells aren't Arcnode specific.
None of them are Arcnodes. That part of the feat doesn't affect hordes.
So, if you were outside of his control area, you
Yes.
could cast through an Arcnode or through an Arcnode.
Yes, through a channeler of some variety, as long as it
Yeah.
doesn't have the Arcnode advantage, which to my knowledge nothing in hordes does.
I can't think of one either. So you're probably right. Wow, that's. I mean, I guess yeah. So it definitely does shut down War Machine casters more, but I mean, I don't
Over
think
the
you
next
even-
turn, really.
I don't think you even take him for the feat. I mean, the feat's amazing.
Well, the feat is amazing. He's kind of a case like Sayren where he just does a lot of everything.
You know.
Like he's a very utilitarian caster. He does kind of anything you need him to do, and the feat can be crippling, mostly in terms of a setup for a future turn.
Mm-hmm.
Like you generally will feat either on the approach, so like maybe your turn 2, especially if you're player 1.
Okay.
So like if you go, move forward, your opponent goes, move forward, you go again, move forward, and now they're in your 16-inch control area. You have some errants and some jacks in front of you, and you strip them of focus for their next turn.
And especially if you're playing something like Killbox, where they can't retreat without giving up command or
Right,
points
exactly.
as well.
And even if they do retreat, it's already it's too late. Like they've already lost all their focus. They can't cast any spells this turn. Their warjacks have no focus. They don't have any spells up because they couldn't upkeep them.
Wow, that's a dicking. Like,
Biggest kick in the balls to a War Machine player. Like it's just.
It's a pretty big kick on the ball.
it's pretty big. I mean, it doesn't outright kill them, but it sets them back so far that if you're playing an objective-based game, how do you recover from that? You're going to be
You're going to have to give up a couple points, essentially, which puts the Menoth player in a good position. It's especially cool if your opponent's playing the lesser, the Journeyman Warcasters, because it affects them too.
That's true. So yeah, I mean, obviously I think P. Severius is considered one of the best War Machine or Menoth casters. Like I think for Menoth,
He's pretty good. I mean, there's a lot of good casters in faction. So
but I think he's one of the top 3 tournament casters, though.
sure.
Well, I mean, his feet's so painful to War Machine, especially. It's that is horrifyingly painful to not be able to do anything.
Well, that's true, but
That's only half the field. Hordes is going to be the other half of the field.
Oh yeah, of course.
But his damage buff to everything,
Yeah, he's just a good caster overall.
introducing the Reckoner, one of I think Menoth's premier jacks,
It's really good.
being that he comes in at 8 points and does everything you basically want a jack to do.
He's really good.
He gets a POW 17
Reach
weapon.
Thank you, Stephen.
A range 12 POW 12 with crit fire.
POW
POW
13.
Is it really POW 13?
Yes,
Okay.
it's POW 13.
POW 13 crit fire. Ranged weapon with assault as well as
Flare. It's not all it does. It also reduces the defense of models it hits.
that's why I said as well as.
I don't know. I just cut you off because it's fun.
Okay, well, no. Yeah,
Sure, I love Reckoners. They give me giant boners. He's got a huge club and he beats things to death with it. Reckoners are speed 5. They're on the Menoth built Menoth Jack chassis.
So not fast, but not kid or slow.
No, it's actually speed 5 is the faster end of theirs.
Oh, really?
The Vanquisher we got to later is on the old Signar built chassis that they sort of appropriated, which is speed 4.
Oh.
So the Reckoner is speed 5, giving a 8-inch charge, threatening an additional 2 inches for a 10-inch strat range, which is modest. I mean, on its own, that's pretty good. He has concealment passively, which doesn't really do much to him, just because he's only defense 10. This is from his Ashen availability, which also gives living enemy models -2 to attack rolls while they're within 2 inches of him.
Okay.
That part is more important for, say, if your opponent tries to charge Severius, and your Reckoner standing next to him, then, Severius gets a little bit harder to hit.
But not so much for, preventing the Reckoner from getting hit.
No, I mean, that'll happen
12.
on a corner case. Like, if your opponent tries to hit it with something that's mat 4, I don't know what in the game has Mat 4 that can damage a Reckoner. There might be something, don't get me wrong, but I don't know of it.
Yeah, I mean, Mat 4 is pretty terrible.
He's got pretty good stats on the defense, though. He does have 19 armor and 32 boxes.
Wow. Okay.
So he's pretty bulky. He's especially bulky because of the Choir's defensive buffs, which we'll get into later. Very hard to take out of range with that. But it's important to note just how accurately and how hard this thing hits with the buffs you have access to in this list. When it's on the offense, and under Severius's I Have Menoth spell, he's hitting at Mat 9 and Rat 8. So with his assault attack, it's a Rat 8 POW 16. So it's important to note that with all the buffs you have access to in this list, when the Reckoner takes the offensive, even without giving him any focus, well, I suppose giving him 1 focus to charge, he's hitting with a Rat 8 POW 16 ranged attack on his assault. Should he hit with that Rat 8 attack, his target will suffer -2 defense. And then he is hitting with a Mat 9 POW strength 20 reach weapon on his melee attack. Which, of course, you can give him more focus on top of that. If you give him 3 focus, he's clawing someone with that 3 times. That's a lot of damage, folks.
Well, and again, I mean, he's 8 points. He's
of course,
not expensive. So I feel like the Reckoner is one of Menoth's best non-character jacks.
It's very good. It might be better than their character jacks point for point.
Maybe, yeah. But
I'm not positive.
They have some really good character jacks.
They have some pretty good character jacks, but the character jacks that are pretty good tend to be more like point cost expensive.
Yeah, that's true. So I mean, there's not really a whole lot else to say. He does well at range. He does well in melee. He debuffs and
he's really good.
He's just an all-around god-loving badass.
He's really good. He's one of the jacks that you start to consider doubling up on once you get to more jacks in Menoth if you're running a caster that likes them.
Yeah, fair. I know of at least one list that runs like 4 or 5 of them because the assault, getting them a little bit of a movement buff means that their assault charge attack does a bazillion damage. And
would you not be able to stack the Condemner debuff of -2 defense? Like if you had multiple Reckoners?
I don't actually know.
Because that'd be disgusting if, say you had 3 of them, you -6, if they all hit, -6 defense to that target, then the next thing that comes in is a guaranteed hit.
It doesn't say it doesn't. It just says models hit by this weapon suffer -2 defense for 1 round.
But does that mean models hit by a Condemner or models hit by this Condemner?
It says this weapon. I mean, obviously we'd have to look in the rules. Please comment if you actually know the rules and educate us.
My gut instinct is that it doesn't stat.
One of us, most of us will probably forget.
But then the second one is hitting it effectively Rat 10.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the flare is good for everything in your army.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the thing is like. And I know what this list does is it basically goes, okay, if we can draw a line of sight to the Warlock, Warcaster, whatever, you charge and you make the assault shot and it's dead.
Yeah, I mean you do that.
And that's all the list has to do. And then okay, if you don't kill it, well, you still have 5 heavies. Good luck.
It's not in this box though.
No, fair. So the second warjack that comes with it is the Vanquisher, which is also a very good warjack, although kind of a different use.
Also 8 points.
It's on the slower end at 4 speed.
Yeah, so he's on that older Signar-based chassis.
But the rest of the stats, the rest of the main base stat line is identical.
Okay.
Aside from that.
Now his big thing is he's got a POW 14 AoE 4 ranged attack.
He throws fireballs.
And
he belches them, in fact.
Yeah, and it's not crit.
It causes continuous fire.
It causes continuous fire, just base.
So the models it hits.
And it doesn't have to directly hit either. So
nope.
you can fire it at something, and if you miss, who cares? You just let it drift over whatever, and they'll all light on fire.
Infantry.
Goodbye infantry. So that works really well against the high defense things like the Winterguard Death Star, where you've got 15 models to manage, and it doesn't matter if you miss the guy because now 5 of them are dead.
You'll hit it anyway. You're Rat 8. I mean, who cares? You hit defense 15 on average. You hit defense 17 on boosts. No problem.
Well, he's gonna be Rat 8 under Severius's boost.
Almost every circumstance in which he shoots, he will be Rat 8.
I guess, yeah. I mean, so there's that. He's got a 16 POW 16 melee attack that.
You mean POW 19
That's
at
right.
Rat 9.
At Rat 9, that ignores buckler
Well,
and
let's-
shield weapon qualities.
I think it's important to. I mean, actually, maybe it's not important to talk about what
Can we just talk about these two
Hold on.
these two factions that we have talked about today? As we've talked about Legion and Menoth today. Both of them are disgusting.
Well, just hold on.
Beyond disgusting.
Hold on 1 second. I think on the one hand, it's important to talk about these warjacks without considering the acquire buffs, but at the same time, in every Menoth list you're going to run probably
Acquire.
ever. If you're running a warjack, you should be running acquire.
And you will be running a Warjack.
Yeah,
Because
just
you get one
if
for
only
free.
if only for the points discount, right?
Also, you'll probably run more than one because Menoth can do that.
So, but rather than talking about their augmented stats, maybe we should just talk about what the jack is by itself, and then when we get to the
That would make it sound like shit. Well, not like shit, but like... You were to say every Menoth Jack has 2 subtracted from its stats on its card.
so
From its attack stats.
Well, I think the question is, if you look at, like, this box has 3 jacks.
Yes.
Are you for sure always going to get the benefit of the acquire on all 3 jacks?
Yes.
Maybe, depending
Yes.
on the positioning, right?
No, you always are. Unless you're bad. If you're bad, you won't. Don't be bad.
Plus, well, and the thing is, once you start losing acquire members,
You shouldn't start
You
losing
should start
requirements.
losing guard. They're near the back. They're the far away.
obviously there are things that can drift.
No,
AoEs
Steve.
over
This is the thing is that these caveats you're bringing up are so rare and so many. Like,
sprays, AoEs.
There's 6 of them, and they activate before the jack, so they can start behind them. In fact, they almost always will.
they're almost always out of the way.
So you'll have your jacks, which are behind a line of errants, which then in turn have one choir member near them who may have cast something last turn, and one choir member further back who's going to walk up and cast something on them. It's extremely difficult. It's prohibitively difficult to kill the choir before they're relevant.
No, fair enough. I just, I think it's in some ways it's important to say what the jacks do, and then discuss just how disgusting the choir is.
And you're entitled to that opinion. I just include the choir in their stat line.
Because you're gonna have them.
In either case, I think it's. I mean, obviously, it's incredibly important to make sure to be getting a benefit out of the choir for all of these warjacks.
Or you'll probably lose the game.
There's almost no reason to not run the choir.
There's never a reason to not run a choir. I think
Unless you're in a tier list that prevents it.
then you should be playing a warcaster.
Yeah, you probably... Well, you should be playing that tier list.
Yeah, probably not. Anyway, so he's back to the Vanquisher.
He has a POW 16, not really 16, melee weapon that doesn't have reach, but it does have Thresher.
Yeah,
And it has it does have the chain weapon ability, which allows it to ignore the buckler and shield weapon qualities, and also shield wall, which is important for like.
I think it's only important because he's POW 16, not
You
I guess
mean-
POW 18. Or POW
You mean
19.
POW 19 with everything else? So my Spriggan, let's see.
He's doing dice damage to the
You're
Spriggan.
doing dice damage to a Spriggan now, so shush.
That's pretty
But
good.
it doesn't have reach, so it has a shorter threat range than the Spriggan. So
I don't care.
the Spriggan can charge it and kill it. before it can charge you.
True.
And its Flame Belcher is a range 10, POW 14, not really 14, ranged attack. Now, it has an AoE 4, like Steve mentioned, so it's got a good area effect. But it's important to note again that both the Choir buff and Severius' Eye of Menoth buff apply to the blast damage after it's halved.
Okay.
So you're doing POW 10 blast damage, not POW 7.
I think that the Vanquisher, I think it is taken mostly for the range attack. I
Of
think
course,
his melee is
absolutely.
relatively lackluster, especially compared to the other jacks. And
Like the Reckoner that we just talked
yeah,
about.
Reckoner's just a house.
Reckoner has a giant beat stick. This guy has a deceptively largely modeled flail.
Yeah,
It'll
huge on the
look
model.
like it has reach. It doesn't have reach.
I hate it when they do. I'm sorry. Was it? I think it was the Asphyxius 3, where his sword looks like it's about that long and it has reach
reach.
somehow.
Yeah.
It's like what the fuck.
Yeah,
Like,
well,
and
you know.
then this guy doesn't have reach.
Yeah.
Or like the short stunty sword of the Avatar.
Well, okay, let's not talk. Don't fucking talk about the Avatar. Okay, that's a shitty model. Stat wise, it's pretty good. Terrible
That
fucking
was
model.
amazing, but that
Pretty,
game's
like
expensive.
the actual model is like it's garbage. The fucking dwarf jack that needs to take a piss that's using a fucking paddle as its weapon. Don't even. Just shut up.
Privateer, please remodel.
They
the
will
Avatar
maybe
now.
They will
probably.
eventually.
Please, it looks terrible.
But
Anyway, but yeah, I mean, I think that the Vanquisher you take for the
Yes.
fiery
absolutely.
goodness.
Especially when you have a vassal like you have in this list. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, that's, all right.
Well, a couple minutes probably.
So the next Jack in this box is the Redeemer.
The last Jack.
The last Jack in the battle group is the Redeemer. And he's, although kind of focus hungry,
A little bit.
he's pretty amazing.
He shoots rockets.
He shoots rockets. He shoots multiple AoEs, and he's got an incredible range.
He's a rocket metal guy.
Though he is inaccurate, they're scatter missiles.
No one cares. It's blast damage.
That's true.
It's pound 9 blast damage.
Ish.
That's good. I mean,
It's a POW 12, range 16, rate of fire 3 gun with an AoE 3 on each shot. So it does have the inaccurate rule, which means he's effectively firing at rat 1, except for aiming bonuses and buffs.
Even with those, he's going to be missing.
He can be rat 6 with aiming bonuses and buffs. Rat 6 is not bad.
I think in general you might be better off just drifting them though.
Steve, when you have a -4 attack buff and you're still at rat 6,
I'm not saying
shut up.
I'm not saying that's not good, but the thing is, I think in general you're probably taking it so that you can scatter.
Right. Okay. Most of the time. But when you have a line of sight to a caster 16 inches away and you want to pump 3 POW 15s into their face, it's pretty good.
Even at rat 6 though, you're probably better off boosting the attack.
No.
I don't think so.
No way.
Rat 6, you're hitting a lot of stuff.
As opposed to, what do you mean? Like,
Well, what are you hitting on average with rat 6?
Defense 11.
What Warcaster has defense 11?
Card check.
Okay, yeah, your POW 12 AoEs are going to kill
POW 15.
Well,
Well, minus 4
again,
on
the
the
Skyhammer seems like it's something again that's meant to clear out infantry.
It is, yeah. I'm bringing up a weird corner case.
Like it's not for a caster.
And ultimately, he's 6 points.
Yeah.
So he's not that expensive. I mean, I guess for 2 more points you can have a Reckoner. So.
But it does different things than the Reckoner.
Yeah.
It's meant for just blowing random clusters of infantry up indiscriminately.
Now the question is, how do you feel the Redeemer compares to like the Vanquisher? I mean, they're both kind of used for AoE clearing.
The main difference is the splitting. The Redeemer can make 3 shots to different locations on the board at a longer range. It threatens 21 inches.
Yeah. Okay. The range is disgusting.
The range is pretty absurd. Although that also means that your deviation has the potential to be all the way like up to 6 inches.
Okay.
Whereas if the Vanquisher is close enough to its target, you can limit the deviation like 4 inches, 3 or 4 inches.
And an AoE 4.
Yeah, AoE 4 that causes fire. Like, but the thing is, I mean, even just causing like POW 9 blast damage against clusters of infantry or what have you.
Well, because POW 9 is going to do. You're going to hit what armor 17 on average, 16, 17.
You're going to do 1 point of damage to armor 15 models on average.
Okay. So. Yeah, I mean, again, something that's high defense, low armor, that's going to be fantastic against.
Like Striders, who you can miss and still damage.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, that would totally demolish Striders.
Well, assuming it didn't drift off. The other thing that I'd like to point out again about the Skyhammer's inaccuracy too, you can hit a caster that's knocked down with Rat 6 POW 15 shots pretty easily.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you end up
remember, kids, this is with a -4 attack debuff.
If you end up taking this guy with other casters in Menoth, or after slamming with one of your jacks, you just I'm gonna slam your jack through your caster and knock you the fuck down.
No, I think in the all-in-one army box, it's pretty sweet to get both the Redeemer and the Vanquisher.
Yeah,
I think that once you start playing, like after you've played with that for a while, you're probably gonna want to drop one of them.
Disagree.
Really?
Depends on the list.
Well, the thing is, I think like what you can get for 6 or 8 points inside of Menoth probably outweighs what you're going to get out of a second.
It depends.
Jack.
It really depends. So, like I said, like I've been, I guess, harping on a little bit with the Skyhammer, it's not just for AoEs. With certain casters, P. Krios especially, you pop his feet, knock everybody down. You take like 3 Reckoners, you don't care. You're hitting at Rat 5 against Defense 7 with 9 POW, not 9 because you can't fuel all of them. Actually, yeah, you can. You can give. He has 7 focus. You can give 2 to each of them. Pop his feet, and they can each make 3 POW 14s.
Yeah, that's true.
So like 9 POW 14s that almost automatically hit. You need anything but Snake Eyes.
Yeah, okay.
And then you can have a Vanquisher too, because why not?
I mean, that's definitely enough to kill something.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of a corner case, don't get me wrong. But what I'm trying to say is there are lists that appreciate having that extra range presence.
I just mean in this box, if you were to keep Grand Scrutator Severius, and you're keeping the Reckoner, and you're keeping the, I feel like you probably want to swap out one of those two.
I still disagree.
Okay.
It's a personal preference point, but...
Now, the next thing up is going to be, let's talk about the Hierophant. Now, normally we talk about the units, and then we talk about the solos, but...
this thing makes Severius even more disgusting.
He's also part of a serious battle group.
Okay, so he's an attached dude.
Yeah, attached to the Warcaster. So this solo has Harmonious Exaltation, which is a special action. So range 5, target this model's Warcaster. If it's in range, once this turn, when the Warcaster casts a spell, reduces cost by 1. For a spellcasting caster like Severius, that's a big deal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, makes him a little more focus efficient. It gives him the ability.
It basically gives him a free focus.
Well, it gives him the ability to hand out a little bit more focus to his battle group without necessarily. While still being able to cast the spells he wants.
Right.
The Hierophant also has the ability to heal his caster on his turn. It's friendly living model that's base to base with the model. So and then model heals D3 damage points.
It's important to note that it can't be used in the same turn as you use Harmonious.
Of course, it's also a special action. Yeah. And then its passive ability is Spiritual Conduit. Well, so while its Warcaster is in this model's command range, when the Warcaster casts a spell and is the point of origin for the spell gains +2 range.
Yeah.
So you already have 16 range, or 16 range. Right. I apologize. You have 16 inch range for most of your spells. Make that 10.
Yeah, it gives him a little bit more safety. A little bit, I mean.
Now, I wouldn't focus too much on Spiritual Conduit, although it's good.
It's nice.
The thing is, you could take Arc Nodes. This faction has Arc Nodes.
Oh, yeah.
But being able to getting the free focus is worth it.
Yes, absolutely. Because it lets you cast Ashes to Ashes twice.
Yeah, I mean...
It does, and I mean... He's a focus 9 caster if he's up. Actually, he can't upkeep Eye of Menoth and do that. It's not worth it. Never mind.
Well, it might be though. And ultimately, like the thing about Severius though is the thing about any Menoth caster is that he doesn't necessarily have to worry that much about giving his battle group focus because of things like the choir and because of that he's inherently focus efficient.
Yes.
So blowing 8 focus on 2 casts of Ashes.
Ash to Ashes.
Ash to Ashes. There you go. Isn't outside the realm of possibility, especially if you can clear out enough of those Winter Guard Death Star. If you can prevent.
Yeah, I mean exactly.
Because you could kill up to best case scenario up to 14 models.
14 models
by himself.
Mm-hmm.
That's worth 8 focus.
It's pretty good. Well, that's actually only 7, so you actually can upkeep Eye of Menoth while you're doing that.
How's it 7?
Because you use the Harmonious Exaltation to reduce the cost by 1 on the first one.
So yeah, that's his big thing. He's really just an extra focus for your 8 focus Warcaster.
Hierophant is Severius' Jesus cheerleader.
Yeah. Now that being said, the Hierophant's going to be way far back with Severius, but he does have total victim stats. So
of course.
13 with 5 boxes. He's gonna. You look at him funny and his head explodes.
Yeah.
Ever see Scanners? That's what happens. If you haven't seen Scanners and you're of age, go see Scanners.
Alright, anyway. Next is my nightmare, Exemplar Errants.
The Errants are not just your nightmare, they're the nightmare of
everyone.
So many factions. Anybody who wants to, get into melee with something that's not an Errant.
Oh, heavy crossbow! Oh, you have defense spells? You armor spells? That don't exist anymore.
Okay, well, the blessed weapon's pretty sweet. But the big thing is, with Defender's Ward, they can get up to defense 14.
Why don't we talk about their base stats first, Steve?
You're right.
Because I already mentioned their buff stats with Severius, and someone was giving me shit about choir buffs.
They have Fearless and Advanced Deploy.
Advanced Deploy is very good for them because they're only speed 5. It lets them start up a little bit further on the board.
And Fearless is particularly good because most little small-based humanoid models don't get Fearless.
Right. Although with Rupert it usually doesn't matter as much, but baseline, yes, you're right.
But on average, that means that they're not going to be scared of abominations. They're not going to be scared of things with terror.
Right, exactly. Which means they can charge those horrifying creatures without impunity with their POW 9 Weapon Master.
That's right.
I was about to say that these guys are probably this unit. This is the unit that makes those upkeep spells that Menoth can provide very noticeable and very painful.
Well, it's one of these that does that,
because the sword is pound 9 weapon master, which isn't that impressive. But now you've added you've added +3 damage. Now you've added +3 attack.
It's only +1.
Yeah, they're not.
Still, you're still making a weapon master stronger. You're still allowing a 10 piece unit with to have weapon master.
I honestly, I mean, as cool, I mean, as good as a POW 10 weapon master can be.
When they're mobbing things?
I really don't feel like you take errants to be an offensive unit.
No, but you take they have to be at least threatening.
Yeah, fair.
I mean, especially if you're using them to jam and like wanna threaten free strikes, because a free strike from Power 10 Weapon Master is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
10 plus 5 dice.
They can mob
or 4 dice. Sorry.
And I feel like exemplarians are basically they are a infantry unit that's anti-infantry. They can just mop up an entire. I know you're not an entire field of infantry, but like. I hate when I would keep going back to Kador, but the Death Star, their greatest strength is that they get what, like +6 defense, +5 defense,
+5.
+5 defense.
They only ignore 3 of that.
They only ignore 3 of that. But the thing is, like,
yeah, it's enough.
You start with a heavy crossbow. You get rid of the first line of the Winter Guard, and then when you go into attack, you have POW 10 Weapon Master, and they don't have very much armor. And you have with this list, you have really high mat.
Well,
you have 10 mat.
They're not. How are they going to have 10 mat?
They don't get
Don't they
Quire
get +2? Oh, they don't get Quire
They only get +1.
I mean,
Still,
so 8 mat is going to hit almost anything.
Mat 7 by default is actually exceptional for a cheaper than 1 pointed dude infantry unit
Absolutely.
that does a ridiculous shitload of other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm getting at though is I think that the thing they're most renowned for is going to be the self-sacrifice thing.
Right.
Because you can. I mean, in this box, you're getting Grand Scrutator Severius, which can give them defenders. We're bringing them up to defense 14, armor 18. Having self-sacrifice, which basically allows you to remove a different model than the one that's been killed.
Only if it's disabled by an enemy attack.
Okay.
So there's certain ways to get around that, like slams. I believe Blightbringer gets around it because it's not an attack that's causing the damage.
That's true.
I believe.
That makes sense. Okay, but even so, like,
right.
it turns them from it takes like a speed bump unit and turns them into like a speed blockade unit.
It just puts the spikes up.
Yeah.
The tire spikes.
And the thing is, they're not any more expensive than those speed bump units.
Well, no, not for the 10 dudes. Comparison would be like Zealots, which are I believe 6 points for the 10 unit and then 2 for the UA. So that their full bullshit speed bump is only 10 points, whereas these guys you pay a little bit extra because you get 1 less model by default, and then you add the UA.
Okay, but then you get the range blessed attacks. You get the
exactly. That's the thing is like
the weapon masters.
These guys are an elite tar pit.
Yeah,
you don't really pay for the eliteness, and you still get the tar pit.
No, okay. Honestly, I don't think Kador with the Death Star gets to complain about any other.
In this case, yes, because they can ignore me. They can ignore the Death Star
They only ignore +3.
Still.
You still have like 15 defense.
Yeah, which is still.
And that's only on their ranged attacks, which are at 6, 7 with Severius' buff.
So they're still missing on average.
Yeah.
And
I don't like.
And you're tough.
I still don't like.
You're
them.
also tough.
Yeah.
And you kill them easier with your sprays.
I still don't like them.
No, you might not like
attack
them.
rolls.
They're still incredibly annoying and
That's fine.
ruined
You don't have
every
to like
game. Every
everything.
game I've played Menoth, the Exemplar Errands have been a fucking pain in the ass.
Yeah, they're even more painful with Harbinger out.
Oh yeah. But anyway, like for what they are, I think they're just a phenomenal unit, and I think they're really a staple in just about any Menoth list. Like
they're one of 2 or 3 tar pits that you take situationally, depending on what specifically you want.
For sure, but if I were to if I was going to suggest somebody, like let's say these all-in-one army boxes didn't exist, let's say this list doesn't exist, and I was going to point somebody in the direction of Menoth, I would say absolutely pick up a unit of errands because you can build around them basically. You can stick them into almost anything; they'll be good in almost anything.
In fact, about like a year before these were announced, I made on my own independently a list that was very similar to the All-in-One Army Box. That I was when I started Menoth. This is a good list to start with. I think it's a good idea.
And the thing is, I don't think the errands will ever let you down. Like they will always, at the very least, be an excellent speed bump, and maybe they do more, maybe they don't. But yeah, I mean, I've never seen an errant unit underperform unless somebody's grossly incompetent with the army.
Or unless the enemy just doesn't give a shit, like Saren feats and then flies over them to kill their shit.
Saren can't fly.
No, but Saren doesn't have to fly. Saren feats and then war beasts fly over.
Yeah, no, I mean there's ways to get through them or around them, but
Right.
But if you don't use that feat, they just baby seal club you to death on the way.
Well, again, what I'm saying though is like that's one example.
Yeah, no, I know.
Krios can pop and drop. Sorsha can make them stationary. Sorsha.
Yeah.
There's various ways that you can get around them.
Terminus doesn't care.
They're difficult.
If you decide not to kill a different guy, because he'll just keep going.
As long as he's on his feet turn.
Yeah.
Because he'll still get the soul. It actually self-sacrifice stops Berserk, which is a big deal for certain factions. It stops Doom Reavers from berserking, it stops Warpwolf Stalkers from berserking, it stops Warmonger War Chiefs and the not solo guys from berserking. It stops Maximus from berserking because the fucking pig needs to berserk.
But yeah, I mean, they're just a very, very, very solid unit. And
that are made better by their solo.
They are made better by their solo. They also have a unit attachment, and actually we had this conversation because we were talking about, well, I wonder, it would be better if instead of the Seneschal, they had put in the UA, and then we remembered, like, we looked over.
I was confused. I was like, why the hell didn't they include the UA? The UA gives them Pathfinder. The UA gives them Quick Work, so they can charge in, kill a guy, and then shoot somebody, which is cool. And Pathfinder is really good. But the UA gives them, the solo gives them Hunter as long as they're within his control.
Which is
his commander.
From how I read it, is essentially out of sight. They're able to ignore everything and be able to see through it. I mean,
they don't ignore stealth.
Okay.
Let's ignore stealth.
Okay, so what does Hunter do?
The model with Hunter ignores forests, concealment, and cover when determining line of sight or making a ranged attack. Okay. Which is really, really good. You can shoot entirely through a forest. You can charge entirely through a forest because you use determining line of sight.
Now, obviously, that's even made better with the UA because of Pathfinder, but
right.
The Seneschal
you still actually have access to Pathfinder in this list if you one of our Piper of Ord's songs grants Pathfinder.
I didn't know that, but we'll get there in a minute.
Right. And the thing with the Seneschal is he's basically just a really good errant. He has 1 point higher Mat and Rat by default. He's got 1 point higher speed by default.
Okay.
His weapons are the same POW, strength, whatever, but he has assault, so he can charge in and make a ranged attack on his way in.
That's cool.
He has call to sacrifice, so he basically benefits from the whole self-sacrifice thing, even though he's not part of the unit.
Assuming he's close enough.
Yeah, as long as if he's disabled by an enemy attack, you can choose a model of the type indicated in his command range. He actually has a much larger area.
And that's interesting because that's if you were to take all 5 of his boxes. So you can choose after the fact to see whether or not it would kill him, and then if
it's only if he would die.
Okay.
You don't self-sack before that.
But they have to do the 5 points of damage to him before you even get the self-sacrifice. So you're getting more damage out of the unit by transferring it off to some chump who's going to eat it instead.
Well, he still takes the 4.
Oh. Okay.
He only heals 1 damage point.
Okay. But yeah, he's pretty awesome. Especially like the Hunter thing. I think is much better than.
It's a big deal. Yeah, I mean, because you have other ways of giving Pathfinder, and you want to take Rupert anyway. I mean, there is some anti-synergy because, like, if you give them Pathfinder with Rupert, he can't give them Tough.
Okay.
He can't use his other songs on them, but
I mean, if you can only, in 35 points, you are pressed for how much
right, exactly.
fit in, and if you can only choose one between the Seneschal or the UA,
yeah, definitely.
Like that's where
I would definitely choose the Seneschal just because you generally want the errants to be more at range. Like their advantage is that they can do more from range than like Zealots, than Flame Guard can, than your other target options. So
that makes sense. The next up is going to be the Choir of Menoth, which we've kind of been
the mandatory of Menoth, you should call him, really.
Pretty much. Well, we've been kind of talking about it.
They're just going to do some soul music. What?
You need these guys.
Okay. We were talking about the Warjacks, and we were talking about how they perform with the Choir buff, because the assumption in any Menoth list is that you have some Choir. Yeah. They are actually that good. They are probably the best unit in anything.
They're so cheap that there's basically no reason not to take them. They're so cheap and so effective.
You can take 6 guys for 3 points?
Yep. They're half a point each.
Or 4 points for or 4 guys.
You could take 3 units of them if you felt like it.
And there's reasons why you might take multiple small units versus larger units, but like they're dirt cheap, and they make your warjacks ridiculously better.
Yes.
So basically, the way they work is at the start of their turn, they've got a range 3 song they can do, and it's going to be
a special
action, but it's a range 3 thing. And they can give your warjacks one of 3 abilities. Now, the first one's going to be +2 to attack and damage roll, which is your bread and butter.
It's important to note that they all have to give the same hymn.
Which is another reason why you might use more than one unit, because each unit can give a different...
That's true, yeah.
Now, a warjack can only be affected by 1 choir.
Yeah, it can only be affected by 1 hymn at a time.
Yeah, so you couldn't have 3 stacked on 1 warjack.
No.
But
you could have, if you did really want to, you could have 2, like for example, 2 choirs. One choir could give battle, which is the attack and damage buff, and the other choir could give passage, which is a buff that makes the warjack immune to, can't be targeted by non-magical ranged attacks for 1 round.
Which it has its uses.
That's actually very useful. The majority of high power shooting is non-magical.
Okay, and then so that's the second hymn, and the third one is shielding, which I can't remember what it does.
Prevents you from being targeted by enemy spells.
Okay,
which is really, really good.
Well, yeah. I mean,
can't cast Breath Stealer on me.
And then passages.
You wouldn't cast Breath Stealer on them.
Why would you not cast Breath Stealer?
Oh yeah, sorry, Breath Stealer. I was thinking about single seconds.
And then passages like "fuck you, Iris," essentially.
But
Iris actually I think has magical range attacks.
No, it's non-magical range.
That's right.
Cannot be targeted by non-magical range attacks.
Right.
So her
I'm pretty sure bow is magical.
Oh really?
I'm pretty sure it is.
But ultimately, I mean, it gives you...
I apologize for my lack of knowledge, everybody.
It gives you such flexibility with what you want to do with your warjacks. I mean, most of the time, I think you're going to probably go with the +2 attacking damage because it's...
Well, on the approach, you go with whatever is the defensive buff of choice.
But like the +2 attacking damage is...
It's disgusting.
Just absurd.
Remember all those things I said about the warjacks and having higher stats than the card list?
Yeah. You better have a fucking choir.
Yeah. I mean, the choir is an auto-include in almost every, if not every, Menoth list. And... That's one of the reasons to be playing it.
Actually, it isn't. Iris does not have a magical crossbow.
Woo! Yay! Fuck you, Iris. Goddamn passage.
All right then.
Fair enough.
But yeah, so you get a choir in this box, and I mean, if you were to build a Menoth army, or you to start Menoth, the first purchase you should probably make is a choir, regardless of whatever else you're including.
Well, you should probably have a warcaster and some warjacks for the choir buff.
Yeah, well, you're gonna buy those at some point anyway. But like, the choir is just such an integral.
Choir is your if you aren't buying this box and you started from the battle box, for example, and you can't find one of these boxes or can't afford a $150 box, and it's not $150.
It's $135 US.
But whatever. If you can't get the box for whatever reason, buy a choir.
Yeah.
Your first purchase should be a choir of Menoth. Do it.
There's
zero reason.
I think that if for some reason you didn't want to take a choir, you should probably just be playing a different faction. Is how strongly I feel about the choir.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's actually a theme list that even gives you any real benefit for not taking them. You'd have to basically have a ridiculous, like, godlike benefit for not taking choir.
It's one of the reasons to be playing Menoth in general.
Yeah.
I think the inexperienced player might look at them and go, well, they don't do anything themselves. They don't seem all that strong. They really are.
That's why I allude to the fact that Menoth is like an onion. It has so many supportive and defensive layers that you have to peel away. Problem is that the most powerful one's way at the back.
Yeah, well, fair enough. We're getting down to the last couple of things that are in the box, and they're both solos. The first one's the Vassal of Menoth, which is another almost auto-include but it is dependent on which warjacks you're taking.
Sort of. It almost isn't.
Well, I mean, like, let's say you were running only melee jacks.
Then drop Enliven on them.
Yeah, I guess.
Or use ancillary attack to give them extra melee attacks.
Okay, fair. So the Vassal is a 2-point solo. Victim stats, just like most of the other solos.
But while it's in base-to-base with a friendly warjack, it gets +2 defense and armor and can't be knocked down. Makes it armor 15, defense 15.
With 5 boxes? With 5 boxes?
Okay,
yeah, it's pretty good.
It'll be harder to hit. It's still kind of a victim.
Well, okay, it's a victim because it's a spellcaster who has a giant metal mask on him, which is shackled.
To be fair, he is shackled. Yeah.
Yeah, he is a victim.
So he's got magic ability 7, which means to cast his offensive spell, he needs to. That's what he's going to use to hit.
Don't do that.
But
it's a bad idea.
You're not taking him for his. Well, I mean, okay.
If all of your warjacks are dead, sure.
You can still do something.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's not worth it. But his big things are going to be ancillary attack and enliven. And ancillary attack allows you to make it's a star action on
a friendly faction
on the vassal that lets him make an attack.
It makes a warjack within 5 inches make an extra melee or ranged attack.
Yeah. So I mean, in this box where you've got the Reckoner, you've got the Vanquisher. I think it'd be unlikely for you to use it in the Redeemer when you could use it in the Vanquisher unless you really need the range.
No, unless he's in melee and just failed to kill somebody.
I guess. But I mean, that lets you get another 4-inch AoE fiery attack. It lets you bludgeon something again for POW 19 or 20.
You get another layer of bullshit, and get another layer of bullshit.
Interesting to note,
everybody gets another layer
while a
of bullshit.
warjack can make an ancillary attack special action only once per turn, you can still do it on different warjacks with different vassals. So if you had a second vassal, you could do it on 2 different warjacks. And you still get the bonuses from your choir buffs in Eye of Menoth.
Yep.
Even outside your activation.
And then his Enliven, I don't remember what that was.
So when the warjack takes damage, it gets to make the next time it suffers damage from an enemy attack while it's not advancing, immediately after the attack is resolved, it can make a full advance.
Okay.
Which means a couple of things. I mean, first of all, it makes your warjacks immune to being charged, except for being one-shot, essentially.
Yeah.
You can enliven a warjack, and then somebody charges it, hits it once, deals a bit of damage, goes whoop, 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 and just walks 4 or 5 inches away, depending on which warjack you put it on. Mm-hmm. Alternatively, if you're worried about your opponent shooting them, and your opponent is dumb, you can just put enliven on them, and then they can walk forward after they get damaged by a shooting attack.
That's true.
It's going to be a much more corner case.
But I mean, just again, it's flexibility, it's options, which this box has in spades. Like you can. You can do so much to either control the battlefield or to react to whatever your opponent's doing, which isn't the case for all of the other boxes.
No, but I mean, I would say that's actually the case for Severius in general, and a lot of Menoth. Yeah. Menoth is a denial and as Logan likes to put it, an onion faction, because it makes him cry.
Pretty much.
No, actually, because the analogy is that it has many layers to peel back before you get to the sweet oniony core.
You know what? I like that it makes Logan cry. That's I think why we call it an onion faction.
Yeah, we can do that from now on.
Time for another layer of utter bullshit. Because now that I've read Rupert Carvolo, Piper of Ord's list of spells, fuck this fucking faction.
He's not actually a Menoth, though. I mean,
just make the fucking exemplars even better. Fuck you.
Okay,
so
a couple things. First off,
plus gate.
We're done with the vassal. We'll continue on to Rupert Carvolo. He is a Merc character solo, and I'm going to let Mike describe it because he's probably more experienced with.
I've played him a few times.
With him,
he's a 2-point speed 6 model. His defensive stats aren't that great. His offensive stats aren't that great. He's Mat 6 with his PS9 sword. Woo! He's defense 13 and armor 14.
And he will only work for Signar or Menoth.
And also mercenaries.
I don't know really.
I know, but anyway, so during his activation, he can play one of the following tunes. When he does, you choose a friendly unit. The tunes affect this model, so Rupert himself, and the friendly unit if the unit is currently in his command range. It's important to note that you can still charge if you play a song, because it's only during his activation. It's not a special action.
Oh, really? Okay.
This is almost never relevant. And I don't think you can run. Actually, I think you might be able to run and play a song. Anyway,
it's not an action. Right?
Okay, so let's just say all of his songs are extremely beneficial.
Of course they are.
Like no, the thing is no.
He's a support model. You only take him for the song.
Oh no, I'm just saying like again, Cato comparison. I'm sorry guys. Comic Joe.
Don't.
Two of his songs are good. The other one is kind of meh. This guy, all 3 of them are fantastic.
All of Comic Joe's songs are good.
Yeah, Comic Joe is a house. Okay,
he's really good.
Yeah.
I think I'm looking at Carvolo. I think his are better.
Well,
that's a grass is greener thing.
+1 defense and terror. That's pretty fucking good when you're just throwing infantry.
This guy does nothing offensively for the unit.
So let's
fearless and tough.
Anyway, so his 3 songs are Dirge of Mists. You'll probably cast this one the least as Menoth, or at least with this list, but it gives your effective models +1 defense and terror for 1 round. Which is okay. I mean, like, the +1 defense is going to be occasionally relevant. If you throw that on the errants on top of defenders, where they're defense 15, which makes them pretty hard to hit.
Yep.
And then
but, I mean...
But terror could be a big deal, depending on...
Command checks, man.
It can be, but, like,
It's not always.
Yeah, I mean, I get there's a lot of models that are fearless. That War Beast, Warlocks.
I think the big problem with fearless command checks in general is that you don't have to go anywhere when you're running away, like so to speak, or when you're up here.
I mean, the thing is though that even if your models stay in place, they're still useless.
They're frozen in fear.
See, I disagree though. I think that they're still useful because they're still blocking charge lanes. They're still doing stuff that
says the shitlord that plays Beast with Flight.
Yes.
Shut the fuck up.
Well, no, because I mean, in that last game that we played with the War Spears were blocked by that one.
There's a couple of Tharn.
The Tharn, and it's like, okay, well, in that case, they should have made the command check and fled, and they would still be in the way to the point where I still couldn't charge, and it was a big deal for that game.
Sure.
So I mean, I think Terror has its uses, but at the same time, yeah, you're probably right. It's probably the least effective.
Well, especially when compared to his other. So March is very special. Simple. March is very simple. It just gives effective models Pathfinder. So this is how Rupert can give those errants Pathfinder for those turns that they just really need to charge and they don't have their UA.
Essentially replaces the UA, yeah.
Sort of. I mean, if you drop March on them, you're not dropping Heroic Call on them, and Heroic Call gives the effective models Fearless and Tough. No. Fearless Tough on errants is pretty fucking good.
Well, they're already Fearless, but...
Well, yeah, but tough on errants is pretty fucking good.
No, the tough thing is on the units. The one thing I want to mention about that is again something that came up in our game, and it's dumb as hell, but it works this way, where you can have a single model even if they're out of command, way back here with Corvolo back here, he can cast the tough thing on it and the whole unit gets it.
Yeah.
Somehow through magical singing.
Because he targets a model, he targets a unit actually. But you still have to measure distance to one model in the unit.
Yeah. So he can remain incredibly safe while still casting this stuff. And giving tough to errants is borderline broken.
It's pretty insane.
But yeah, so I mean, and then the final one's March, which I think just gives them Pathfinder. Which in this box is fantastic because you don't have that UA, which would give them Pathfinder for the errants. But at the same time, I think Heroic Call is why you take them.
Yeah, pretty much.
Especially with errants, because errants should never. I mean, I shouldn't say should never, but errants are likely to not be on the offensive most of the time.
I mean, they don't really need his offensive buffs. Is the thing. They don't really need offensive buffs. Like they get the Eye of Menoth from Severius, and they're already POW 10 weapon masters. Like they're not the strongest things in the world, but for like your tar pit unit. It's pretty decent.
So, I mean, I think Rupert Corvolo is just a pretty amazing solo.
He's basically the Piper of Menoth. I mean, like, people call him that colloquially just because reasons.
I don't think taking him in Signar is a bad idea, but I mean, yeah, in Menoth, with the infantry that Menoth has access to, he becomes super extra disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, like, what the hell in Signar do you really want to give tough to? You don't have a good tar pit at all. Silverline Stormguard, maybe? Stormguard in general.
Not necessarily. You wouldn't necessarily want to put it on something that's like a tar pit. You maybe put them on like Stormblades, where they're valuable to the point where you don't really want to use them, but you want to get them close enough to do damage.
I guess. Signar can also take like good merc units though too, and a ranking officer.
That's true.
Anyway, totally off topic.
But I mean, that's not really off topic because Rupert can be played in both, and I mean, he adds value to the all-in-one army box, especially if let's say you're a Signar player who's expanding into Menoth. It's just something. It's just an added.
I guess, sure, yeah.
Granted, that's probably a small.
It's a pretty small fraction.
But
I feel like comparing the two lists that we've talked about today, these two are both like incredibly viciously powerful lists that which will clash pretty satisfyingly, I'd say.
I think that's true in some respects. I think that the Legion box is probably more. It's less directional. Like it's more about area control, maybe less about just straight bludgeoning of things. Whereas I feel like the Menoth box has got a lot of power to it.
The way you said that makes it sound like the Legion list doesn't have power.
No, it does. I mean, it's got three heavies.
I feel like the Legion list, basically the way I would handle the Menoth list is that even though the Menoth list is powerful, it by having so many push and pull effects, you're able to essentially take that unit, the strength of that unity, and blow it apart.
Well, yeah, I think the Legion list against the Menoth list specifically. You're not going to be looking at trying to kill all the errants necessarily.
We can. What are you talking about? You fly the Angelius to one side, repulsion, push them into the middle, fly the Nephilim to the other side, repulsion, push them into the middle, charge with the Nerif, Blightbringer the Nerif, kill them all. Some of them will fail their tough rolls, the rest of them will get knocked down.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not saying it's... I'm not saying it doesn't have tools.
Feet, so you don't die.
That's what I'm saying. These are two very powerful lists that will clash really powerful. Like, it's going to be big. Like, it's the two unstoppable forces coming after each other. I mean...
And then these will both shit all over the scorn box. No, I'm kidding. I actually don't know if that's true. It's probably not true.
No, I think the scorn box has a lot of ability to deal with infantry, I think.
Yeah, but if infantry that are tough, that they can't kill the right one off?
Hard to say.
That are armor 18?
We'll find out because we will be playing all of these boxes against
yes, we will.
boxes. So,
of course.
But yeah, that's basically it for the Menoth All-in-One Army Box. I think that's a fantastic box. I think that if...
It's pretty sweet.
I think that they should make these kind of a staple. I realize that it might reduce sales in some of these models, but to get somebody new into the game, this would be...
It's a pretty fantastic deal.
I mean, you couldn't cobble together a better list for the money. Like, for $135.
No.
There's
it's a huge discount.
It's like a 40% discount.
Which is why they're not going to sell them.
The thing is, even if you were to just buy these right off the rack, like not getting this all-in-one box, you'd be hard-pressed. You couldn't really go wrong with buying this list of stuff.
Yeah, it's a pretty good list.
You will use everything that's in here, at least in some fashion. The Warcaster's great. The Warjacks are great. The units are staples. And the solos are staples as well. Like,
agreed.
Maybe you would change something out for this list specifically. I don't actually know, but
tough to say.
But yeah, I mean, even at full retail prices, it'd still be a great starting point.
Right.
So, the Legion one, I think is probably an okay starting point for like if you're to buy them off the rack.
This is Steve's opinion, clouded by the fact that he likes playing Absalonia and 16 heavies with 42 Forsaken. Every game. Don't listen to Steve, even though he plays Legion. Shut the fuck up, Steve.
Well, no. The thing is, I would want to see at least a Shredder in there. I'd want to see maybe a Carnivian.
Buy the Battle Axe. Problem solved.
Yeah, but really, I mean, if you could get this and then buy the Battle Box.
I feel like both of these lists are also very lenient lists. Like I feel like these are lists that you could make 3 or 4 big mistakes and go, oh whatever, I fucked up and live.
Depends on your definition of a big mistake. If you lose the Scythian or the Angelius too early in the Legion list,
of course, yeah,
you got a problem.
Really,
yeah.
But if you happen to contract like horrible brain disease and run the choir up front. Without doing anything, and then they all die. Then you should probably see a doctor because horrible brain disease is a problem.
I feel like these are lists that in that like the biggest mistakes you can make are really obvious, and you shouldn't be making them anyway.
Yeah, they're pretty huge.
Even a new player should be like, I shouldn't be leaving my most valuable Jack or Beast out in wide open.
Well,
don't moonwalk Severius' ass towards the Scythian.
The thing is,
a bad plan.
Is sometimes I think especially with new players though, like. You don't know that you're doing that, right? Like it's you don't know what the threat range of your opponent's stuff is necessarily,
right? Especially
against something like the Moloch Karn cannon,
right? But like, Moloch Karn is actually a bad example. Like it's a good example of the errants not giving a shit.
Okay,
because,
the errants,
like
sure.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying is like the errants are in this list. Like you run in to do the Moloch Karn missile and you try and kill a guy that's in the way, except somebody else dies, so he's still in the way.
No, I know, but I mean, that's why you use the incendiary to like. Try and clear out some of them anyway.
Right.
But anyway.
Try is the operative word.
Thank you for watching this video. Please like, comment, subscribe, and tell us what you think about these.
Do what Steve says. You are sheeple.
These are both 5 out of 5 boxes, I'd say.
12 out of 7. 42 out of 15.
All right, we got.
I'm just spewing random numbers at this point. Okay.